Still working on my buddy's bike here. I do want to add that he's pretty good with stuff. He bought this bike like this. So this is not his doing. He just got this bike. He got a good deal on it. But he's kind of wanting me to fix a few little things on it and clean up the electrical. As you can see, it's kind of a mess. Got a wire nut. That's always kind of, you see something like that and you wonder what else is there that you're not seeing. This doesn't belong in the automotive world. The thing about bikes is they're cheaper than cars. A lot of people are into them, and they're just cheaper. So the problem with that is even broke people, get them, and they kind of fix them in broken ways. This tape. So he's got a decent bike here, and it's really cool. I'm actually looking for one too, similar to this. So I'm kind of into this thing, but you have to put some effort into making these things cool, and even just general repairs. You start wrapping electrical tape around things, and we got random wires running all over the place. I'm not even sure where that goes yet. This needs to be cleaned up and just tidied away and tucked away, and we might even make some brackets to mount things. Another thing is this tape. It doesn't look bad if you wrap with like friction tape, like a cloth tape, and I do that pretty often. Another thing is split loom, not this kind. It's plastic stuff. Like it looks like the friction tape, and it kind of looks factory, and it'll clean it up, make things the correct length, and solder your joints and heat shrink them. Some butt connectors are okay if you use the type that have the heat shrink tubing on them, and just clean it up. So that's pretty much one of the things we're going to do with this one. The second problem he's got, the tank. I don't know what it is with me and tanks, but the problem with these VT600s is there is no tank like that. This is, if you want that tank, you got to get an old one, eBay, whatever. They can be pricey if they're nice. This one here is, I don't have the key on hand to take the cap off with one hand. I would open it up. Someone's tried to put a liner in there. Probably the same guy that did all of this. There's a process to doing that. It requires effort. The kind I use is pour 15. There's a 3-part step. You got to clean it out with warm water in the first part. Shake it around really good. And then the second part is like a metal prep, and the third part is the paint or the liner. You got to babysit it and turn it around, and it requires some effort. This guy looks like he used the third part at least, or something similar to pour 15, but there's rust bubbles all inside. Everything that's in there is flaking apart, clogging up his fuel filter. Second thing is it was clogging up, I assume, the petcock, or the port where the fuel comes out. And since this has a pump, it's a kind of a low pressure pump. It was collapsing this fuel hose. So, like I said, there's really no aftermarket tanks available that look like this one. They're big and wide. It's a nice look, but the only option is to find one that's decent. And the ones that are decent, I've seen them as much as $600. Ones that need just as much work as this one for this particular bike, you're talking maybe $300. So what we have coming is kind of a Sportster type tank, which I've seen similar tanks on these bikes, and if you do it right, it can look pretty cool. The problem with that is, you know, these 600s, the Shadows, have this split backbone. It's like a dual backbone. It's hard to really make anything fit. You certainly can't put a regular tank with a regular tunnel on there. You almost need a flat bottom tank, but really you're not going to see in there. So what we're going to do, we have something for an XS 650 coming. It's pretty, you know, it's a hand built when it's custom, but I'm going to have to modify it at the back here. Imagine the tank, the back of the tank. You'll see the tunnel there. It's the lowest tunnel I could find. That's why I chose that tank, because what I'm going to have to do is fab it up and put like a little, put some sheet in there, cut it out, and weld it in and blank that off so the back of the tank is kind of flat, or it's kind of uniform, I guess. Then we'll build some sort of mount that will come down and mount here to this bolt. I've seen similar setups and I think it looks pretty good. So, well, the third thing we're going to do, first is cleaning all this spaghetti up. On the other side is even worse. 2 is a new tank. 3, I could really eliminate all of this, the fuel pump and everything. Really, this is here. It's not so much a fuel pump. They're really there for if you lay the bike down and shut it off. This is pretty much what shuts the fuel off. So this doesn't really use gravity fed like most bikes. This pump right here, if it stops pumping, it also stops flowing, since it's so much lower than the carbs. But really, the other tank, it's got a neat deal. I'll post a video of the new tank when I get it, probably before and after I modify it, obviously. But basically, the petcock is not going to work on any tank but the tank for this bike, and that's another reason you have to go with the stock tank unless you get creative, is the petcock actually comes from the center of the tank, right under the center of the tank. Matter of fact, that's it leaking all over the floor. It's a unique design. That tank's pretty much garbage. It looks nice outside, but it's garbage. So you can't really, it's hard to come up with anything that will go on here and look half decent, that doesn't look like it was cobbled on. That's another thing, if you put some effort into with what, in my head, I think it looks pretty good, and I hope it does turn out good with what I'm coming up with. But you know, you have to, the way the petcock works, it's not going to work. It's not going to be under the center like this would be. It's actually going to come out of the back corner of the tank. Well, the tank would be up here. It's going to be kind of neat. I'll have to show you. You'll see. It's a really cool thing that it's going to have on there. But so basically, what I'm going to do, we don't need the fuel pump. Obviously, we want a filter, but basically, I can run out of that petcock through a filter directly down to the carburetor and just run it just like a you know, any gravity fed system. You have needles and teeth in there. You'll have a petcock to shut the fuel off whenever it sits. So that'll be fine. You can eliminate half of this crap on this bike. Clean that up, and you know, just doing that alone, man, we'll have something you could ride anywhere pretty much. Clean up all the wiring, and for not a whole lot of money, he's got a cool bike. I mean, it looks cool like it is, but it's just not wanting to run very far, and the tank is garbage, and it's causing all kinds of other problems. So obviously he wants to be able to ride this sucker. He wants to be able to get on it and just go, you know. And unfortunately, this is not necessarily wiring. We're doing that because it just needs to be done. But the tank and all that, that's got to be done. That's his main problem. Alright, so that's going to do it for this video. I've rambled enough, so take it easy.